Exactly. Put it in your dream journal. Bethany, I have terrible news for you.
Uh-oh.
You have just passed on.
Oof.
You have gone to meet your maker, whoever they may be in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
They say to you, Bethany, I will answer one question about your life specifically or about life in general.
Okay.
You can ask follow-up questions, but you
Okay.
cannot ask for more questions.
Yeah.
And I like smelling wine. The first thing that comes to your mind, I urge you to say, and then we can examine that.
I already know it. And
Oh, great.
I immediately burn. I burn my first question because it's who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, like if somebody
Uh,
just said to me, like, what do you want to know? And I'm dead. My question is, who are you? Like, who the fuck are you?
so it's so if I love it. It feels so aggressive.
Well, like I mean, a lot has happened.
Mm,
But like who I don't I guess I could just say it politely. I could be like, who are you? I
uh-huh.
could do that. But I think there's a shock that somebody's there.
Because you in general believe that nothing is going to be there, so that the idea that someone or something is there is just jarring.
I just have no idea. Like I absolutely do not I can with certainty say I don't know,
Hmm.
which is a juxtaposition in itself, right? I'm certain I don't know. So if somebody's like, "Hey, what's up?" I'll be like, "Whoa, okay."
So it seems like you're more open to it than who the fuck are you? It seems like you're a little bit more like, okay, I didn't know, and this is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're a little bit your first statement seemed like you are a hardcore atheist, and
Oh
you're
no,
like, who the fuck are you? I did not
no,
believe in this.
no,
And
no.
now
It's
you
just
seem a little more agnostic.
yeah. I don't know if I'm either of those things, but I'm still just
Mhm.
if somebody's talking to me, and I was not expecting them to be there, and I am pseudo dead.
No,
Then
you're
or
really dead. You're
I'm
not
really
pseudo
dead.
dead.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm
you're
really
straight up dead.
dead. But like somebody's talking to me, my absolutely my first question is burned
Mhm.
because I don't even get the question, any other questions, because I'm just staring at whoever or whatever sound I'm hearing. I don't know if it's somebody standing in front of me or if it's just a voice. I mean, I just don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
my thought is like, who are you?
let's run through what. Okay, some of the answers. Who am I? I am what so many religions believe to be God. I am an all-knowing, omnipotent, omnipresent being, and I created all of you in my image and likeness. That's
Mm,
who I am.
okay. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Is it a satisfying answer?
I just there's you know what the part that I'm disappointed in for some reason, and this is probably just projection, but I'm disappointed that he's created us or he or she or whatever it is in his image.
Meaning
Like
what?
that's like really disappointing. Like I created you in my image, and I'm like, you couldn't have come up with something better. Like, like you
So
just had
you're
your you just had yourself to work with. Is that what you're telling me?
So you're upset about the lack of creativity
Yes.
in terms like so you just looked in the mirror, which you assume he created beforehand, and then you're
Yeah.
like, I guess I'll just make more of me. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, I like that. Immediately, you're criticizing the all-knowing being. Like
I'm like,
your first
that's
move there.
that's a little self-obsessed. You weren't like, ooh. I mean, but then again, we have dinosaurs and stuff, so that's kind of cool. So
I
if he's
guess
a
when we're saying
dinosaur.
in their image, in his image, um, yeah, I guess you're right. It doesn't mean exactly like they look temporally, like do they or corporeally exactly like human beings? I don't know because you're right.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs don't look like human
Yeah.
beings.
I mean, maybe if it's a dinosaur, I'd be like, good work, good job. All right.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But if it looks like me or you, I would just be like, I think I'd be a little just a little disappointed. Just like,
Hmm.
so this is the best that you got. Men have boobs too. You didn't think about that, did you?
So design flaws would be something. So after you ask who the fuck you are, then it sounds like your next move is I'm gonna go through a litany of complaints I have.
Just, you couldn't. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go through a litany of complaints, but I would definitely have questions if it was like I made you to look like me.
Uh huh.
You're
I, s-
welcome.
I
I would
I can
just
I can see that. Um,
yeah.
what if what if the who are you? And the answer is I'm an evil being,
Ah,
and I chose this as what I thought would be an incredibly cruel experiment. You are just one of the things that I created um, to partake in this game that is only for my pleasure.
I mean, my first answer is in jest, and it's like, well done, you did it, you accomplished that. There is suffering everywhere. You
Yeah,
definitely you did that. You did your job. Um, but then I would be like, why did you do that? But I don't know if I believe in that's a tough one. But I guess that would be my question. Like, I guess I would be like,
why?
yeah, why
I
would
could.
you could?
Yeah,
Oh, that's your answer. You could. Oh, because you could.
yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of people's answers for when they do something. Like, I mean, I guess a sociopath's answer is I could. That's why I did it, because I could, and that's really frightening. But I want to say I don't believe in polarity, but I do. I believe that, like, I love. Is it Steinbeck who's like, some people are just born wrong. Like, sometimes people are born missing an arm,
Hmm.
and sometimes people are born missing a soul. And I know he's waxing poetics, but there's something to that. I do like there's something to his statement there. Like, I
I
would.
agree. I agree with that completely. I mean, it's essentially the same of like, if you are a sociopath, if you are if you have any sort of mental disorder that
Yeah.
creates aggressive tendencies,
Hmm.
chances are it's because you were born a particular way. Yes,
Yeah.
you're missing a particular thing.
Yeah.
So it feels like how terrible would it be that this creator just happened to have been somebody who also was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Was born without.
I just
I
I
was.
just I just went for it. Yeah, I would. I mean, that would be a huge disappointment. But also, maybe, possibly, who like we I mean, that's kind of the fun of it, and the messed upness of it all. Like, we just don't know. And
But does it
and
bother you've said that a few times, and
yeah,
I'm only saying that in the sense of no one knows. I think
no
we're
one.
all in agreement. Or I mean, that's
Yeah.
not true. Some people definitively believe they know. That's I take that
Yes.
back. It could not have been more wrong.
Yeah. That's the other thing.
But in general, I think we don't know. But
No.
the lack of knowing has a different impact on people's lives than others. Meaning, for some people, it is paralyzing that they do
Hmm.
not know, right? And
Yeah.
for other people, it is freeing that they do not know. If you were on this sliding scale, where do you put yourself?
I mean, honestly, I think it probably depends on what age I've been. I remember when I was like, probably, I don't know, a child, the concept of infinity like finally entered my brain.
Hmm.
And I could say that's the first time I ever felt anxiety. I didn't know that that was the feeling that I was feeling,
Uh
but
huh.
and I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. But I was like, it's all never ending, and I remember just be like having this feeling of paralysis with that. Uh, but
Because of
now,
the grandness, because it's so incomprehensible, because
yes,
it's
yes,
terrifying.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know how my brain got there. I'm sure I was thinking about death in some capacity, but I just remember that panic and being like, "Oh God, it just goes on forever and ever and ever. Like, we just keep going." I mean, and now that I've learned technically, we don't. Like, we'll have another ice age. Maybe like a big old rock will like fall to Earth and like, we'll have like a nuclear winter or something. Like, who knows?
But
So
that will
that's not
destroy
true.
humanity. But like, are
Yeah,
you talking more the infinity of space, of
yeah,
matter, of?
space and time and like and just like people just going on forever, and just that really messed with me when I was younger. And now when I think now I forgot the question. um
uh, where on the continuum of the fact that you do not know, Bethany, you woke up this morning and you did not know that were you to die today, and you have no idea what the purpose was or if there is an afterlife, is that to you paralyzing, or is, and I've reframed the question slightly, is that paralyzing or is that freeing to you?
Freeing. I don't know if it's freeing, but I might say I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it.
Yeah, like I've
You
accepted it. I'm like, there's nothing. It's out of my control, and I'm just like, okay, all right. We don't know. Like that's fine.
So you
Um,
don't worry about it. In general, when you think of death and you think of your own death, does it cause you anxiety, or do you not? Let me back up a little bit. How do you ever think about your own death?
I mean, I think it depends. Like I think there have been times. Like I remember my therapist asking me this question. And I remember, this is the side note, seeing Louis C.K. doing like a bit. I know we're not supposed to mention him anymore, but whatever.
I think you
And
can mention him. I think you're not like, he's my favorite. He did nothing wrong. I think there's different
he's,
levels of.
and I'm not allowed to say your name,
Yeah.
Baltimore. But like his therapist was like, "Do you think about dying?" And he was like, "Every day, like all the time." And I remember just laughing out loud because I think about I think about mortality a lot. I think
Mhm.
that's why planes are so problematic for people, because they sit down, they're like, just in case you might die, here's a pamphlet. And everybody's like, I didn't think about my death for like the last like 2 years or like 5 years or 3 months. And there faced with that. Um,
I love that point that you're making. There's very few situations in society where we're immediately confronted with
yeah.
the possibility might die. I don't know if you've ever had surgery or
Yes.
anything where you have to sign a consent form, essentially saying, like dealing with the anesthetic, that you could die, and it's very jarring. Even as someone who thinks about death, I'm like, holy fuck, it really could happen right now. This is a thing.
My favorite part of the surgery is because everybody's on rotation and there's so many different nurses and doctors that everybody says your name and your date of birth every time they see you right before you go in. And you're just like, yeah, yes, I'm Bethany, yes I am.
Like it reaffirms
You're
their
like,
humanity.
like they have to check because they don't want to take the wrong patient in.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you Bethany Geaber? Yes.
I,
And you like, it just starts looping and you're like, okay, this is getting really fucked up now.
I love that you have a favorite part of surgery. Like you've listed like, do you have some are the least favorites the cutting open part or the
I don't. I'm not. I'm never conscious. I mean, I haven't had that much surgery, but I've just.
uh,
I recall that and just being like, "This is really, but like, this is meta and weird." And
mhm.
I'm not sure I'm okay with people saying my full name and my date of birth after I've just signed this thing saying if I die. Like now it's getting heavy.
Yes.
uh, so that's
A side
comfortable.
note: when I
Yeah.
had surgery to have my nasal turbinates repaired several years ago,
Mhm.
and the doctor told me when I woke up, he's like, just like that, I had asked for a blowjob as I was going under, like as it hit, and I was like, it's so I zero recollection of it, and I
Yeah.
don't. I assume it was the influence of, but it's like that could have been if I died. My last thing that I did was asked a stranger for a
For a
blowjob
blowjob.
as a yeah.
Can I have a blowjob?
And all that made me think of, that's all my subconscious thinks about then. That's all that it
but
is. It's
but
just
so like yeah, maybe that's what's maybe when you're an old man those will be your last words. So now now you actually have that answer. It's been given to
that's
you.
that's true. What my
Like I'll
yeah.
probably what do you think your last words will be, Brandon?
Oh God, well, I mean, you can have the choice of what your last words are, right? Like if you can, depending.
Apparently you
Oh,
don't.
I assume mine is going to be oh fuck, and it's going to be like a car hits me, right? Like that'll be
Oh fuck, Kevin blowjob.
fuck. It's like, oh my God. God, I mean,
Ooh,
I mean,
ooh.
it's a story, if nothing
Yeah,
else.
it is.
Um,
Sorry, I
uh,
still don't think I answered your question.
so,
I
well, oh, you said so. You get on a plane,
yeah,
and it is a few times that you confront death. But what you're essentially what we were talking about was if the idea you think those people on a plane react that way because they have not confronted it,
yes.
whereas you have thought about it.
And neither am I saying, well, I've thought about it. I'm not, I
Mhm.
just, it's something that, I am definitely neurodivergent. Um,
What does
as
that mean?
somebody, I'm ADD. Like I
Hmm.
have like, there are gene mutations and my brain doesn't function like everybody's brain. Like
Hmm.
that's just something that is true. It's a true
Yeah, yeah.
statement. So, um, I would say, yeah, it does. It is something that crosses my mind, to die, what it means to die, what that means to other people. So yeah, I would say have contemplated it enough,
Hmm.
or maybe not enough. I mean, what is enough?
I don't
But
know.
I do. It does cross my mind.
Does it cause you anxiety?
I mean, I no, no, it doesn't, because there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing like my mom always jokes because we're like, do you want like a coffin or do you want to be cremated? And then she'll just laugh and go, surprise me.
Hmm.
And I always think that's her humor. Uh,
There is
but
something wonderfully morbid about that. Of like, it doesn't matter. I mean, it really is. Those choices are really for the people who will be mourning, right?
yes, absolutely. And for their process and how they grieve and all of those
Hmm.
things. But I just don't, no, it does not give me anxiety because there's nothing I can do about it. And it's like so many things out of my control. So,
I,
yeah.
I I think that's a very mature way to look at it in the sense of when something is out of control. For me, I'm like, well, there's got to be some way that it's controllable. Then, like, it might be out of your control, but it's because you didn't try. And but
But that's probably because you're really smart and you can solve a lot of problems. I don't.
mm,
Maybe I'm not that great of a problem solver. Maybe
you
I'm
know
just
what?
like, okay, I'll like I yeah, I'll let things go and I'll be like, okay, there's nothing I can do about that.
But you can nothing you can do about the fact that you're going to die, or and whether or not there's an afterlife. Sure, the
Yeah.
transition doesn't like dying. I just am scared of pain. I think when I think about it, I'm like that would
Uh,
be the fucking worst, right? And I remember taking an online course about the philosophy of death that Yale was
ooh,
offering,
ooh, that sounds
and
like
and essentially a lot of what
fun.
he said it was I don't know, I was trying to process some stuff, and part of what he was talking about was essentially now in modern life,
Mhm.
painful death is a thing of the past because of so many
Yeah.
drugs, morphine, heroin. I'm like, that is bullshit. Like, you don't think if you get hit by a car, you're in awful fucking pain? Like, I think I think the idea of what he was speaking of was people suffering in like you know, from long term illnesses without any kind of painkillers. That era is done,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
I guess I just feared like that. Being scared is terrifying, and then being in pain from after you're scared seems even more terrifying.
Jeez.
Where's your brain at?
I mean, I'm thinking like it's gone to like five different places. I mean,
Take me through them.
I imagine that. Oh, it's hard because I want to make the argument for that, like the pain is short lived, but I know that when you're in pain, or like how when people have wrecks, that like it's like those seconds feel, it's like time changes, right?
Yeah.
There's that whole thing that happens. I can't explain the quantum mechanics of time, but
I would be so crazy if I was like, "What the fuck, Bethany? You can't explain the quantum mechanics of time." I thought
I
you came
can't.
under here under false pretenses. Um,
But supposedly it slows down for you.
yeah,
Especially, and if you're in a lot of pain, it slows down for you, even though it might be going by very quickly. So that's awful. And I guess I just have to say, I hope that doesn't happen. And if it does, I hope it passes quickly. And then another weird thing happens for me is that, like, somehow I'm like, my body will just take care of it. Like my adrenal glands will just like start pumping adrenaline so I won't really feel it. But I don't even know if that's true.
I do
Like
the same thing. I think the exact same thing because I'm
that's
like,
just like
well,
I'm just trying to rationalize my way out of
uh,
it.
because it's like I'm under the assumption that that's what happens, and like that,
Yeah.
like, but there's no way to test that really unless you're in the situation and you don't want to be in the situation. But I
Or
guess
we
I'm like years of evolution, so many thousands of years of evolution. Hopefully, we've developed some sort of like spilling of epinephrine as soon as you're in pain.
yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, we need to talk to a doctor, I guess. I guess a doctor could clarify this for us and like give us a hint. Um,
Yes, they give us a hint, but I guess the only person I'd want to talk to is the actual person who died, because like the doctor, like I need to talk to the person who experienced it, not the person
yeah.
who's like, I don't need the science, I need the anecdotal evidence, not
So
the
then,
scientific evidence.
so then you need to talk to the person who died and then came back. Technically, that's who.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're out there. They're available. You shouldn't be interviewing me. You should be and chatting with me. You should be talking. We should be talking to them.
Uh, uh, yes. To ask them, oh, you've just yes. They've
You
had a
did
chance to think about the question probably because now they're like,
probably.
well, I got a second shot, and now I can because my first
Yeah.
question was, who the fuck are you? And now
Who the fuck are you?
I gotta ask them something else.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I look up those stories. Like I can get in a deep like a deep dive like afterlife hole for fun online and like watch those documentaries of like people who came back and what they have to say and all of
Oh, I
that
have too,
stuff.
and I've read
Yeah.
books about neuroscientists who've had, there's one about the who had a stroke, Jill
Yeah.
Bolte Taylor, and talking about
Mhm.
her experience, and there was another neuroscientist who had a traumatic brain event and was in a
Yeah.
coma for a while, and they tell, and that to me is somehow reassuring. Like I'll seek these out, but
Yeah.
at the same time, there's also people like all that happened was your brain dumps a whole bunch of DMT and it makes you think you're having that, like you're experiencing this afterlife of the
That's
world,
so
and it's
awful.
all a fucking lie.
It's so awful to hear.
I know. I like, but yes, like those things provide hope, which is sad, but um, which is weird because I don't know why I can't just be like, it's tough to say like there is nothing, right? It's tough to live if you think there's nothing and you are on a rock flying through space and attempting to make things care about things that you know deep
Yeah.
down are meaningless.
I mean, where's your level from like anxiety to freeing?
Um, uh, it is day to day.
Yeah.
Today, less so.
Hmm.
But there's plenty of nights I wake up and I'm like, holy fuck, like that just yeah, I'll wake up and be like, this is just gonna end, and nobody knows when. And as I get older, I like sadly more and more people I know are dying, and I'm
Yes.
in my early 40s. I'm not that
Hmm.
old, but I feel like we have a large group of people who do what we do in this business,
Yeah.
and it seems like people. It's not incredibly uncommon for people
Yeah.
to die,
No, it's not.
and um, I I don't know how to process like logically I know how to process that, but
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do with that information today? You know what I mean? Like what am
Yeah.
I going to do today?
I think one of the things that probably gives me false hope in staying alive, and this is just like my brain like maneuvering for me,
Hmm.
right? Just reasoning its way
Hmm.
into is that like genetically on both sides of my family, women live to like 99, 100 easily.
Hmm.
So, so like in my brain, I'm just like, oh God, I'm old forever. I'm gonna be like that old lady where everybody dies. Um, so that for some reason that gives me it shouldn't give me solace.
Well, no, I can see that.
When
Like
yeah.
I can see that, and I feel like we're all just looking for some sort of comfort.
Yeah.
So whatever the lie is that you tell yourself that the women in your family live to
Yeah.
99, and so that's going to be, and maybe there's some scientific basis to, or there is some basis that it will also apply to you. But
Yeah.
uh, I find, just to answer your question a little bit more specifically, if I don't, in my worst times when I am going down that hole and not finding any forms of comfort, I
Yeah.
have trouble doing anything, getting anything in my life done. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
that's fascinating. Yeah.
Like, because it is paralyzing to me that
Yeah.
um, it's paralyzing to me that none of this matters,
Mm.
and whereas perhaps it should be freeing as opposed to paralyzing.
Well, I think maybe that's the thing, right? You're saying none of this matters. But even if you go, maybe it does matter. Maybe that's the no?
I just think that's, again, another lie, and I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. I guess what I realize as
Yeah.
I get older is just be honest with your lies that you create in order to
Yeah.
make your existence feel like it's fine,
Like it's
and
meaningful.
don't judge other people's lies, because that's all we're doing is
But
lying.
it's so much fun.
But it is so much fun. But on the same time, don't be part of an organized group that creates big lies that forces
Yeah,
other
that's
people to believe those are the lies that are the real lies that everybody should believe and
Mhm.
everyone who doesn't is
Yeah.
terrible, and then inform government policy because your big group of lie tellers, religions,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that is where it starts to get sticky for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's I mean it's a shit show.
Yes.
Yeah.
The creator says to you, I'm exactly what you imagined me to be. Who
Yeah.
is this person you're talking to?
Man, I have like it's probably like an amalgamation of like just information that's been fed to me over time, which is like somewhere between like Medusa and like a toga and like a goddess, but like a beard and or a child, or like, do you know what I mean? I'm sure it's like shape shifting to like blah, 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 all these different things.
That is truly terrifying. So you see this creator, and it's Medusa with all the snakes, and then a beard, and then it becomes a child, and then
I'm sure it can change to all things, right? Like it could be like
hmm.
a bug or a flower, or it's like just like it's like one of those, films where like each frame it like changes to something different, and like when it's talking to you, it's like it just shows up and it's like and you're like it's like, hey, I'm a frog today, and you're just like, okay, I get it, you're all things. uh
You several times you've gotten kind of annoyed with this creator. You're a little bit like uh, you've had enough of his or her slash attitude, or
it's,
his or her attitude.
it's a little
That's it.
behavior defiant. I mean, it's yeah, I would say that. I'm just like, I mean, cool, because that raises the question, like, am I here by choice?
Well, I'm not following. Tell me more.
Like, did I choose to be here on
How,
some spiritual level, like before? So we're talking about the after, right?
yeah.
But what about the before life? Um, did I choose to be here, or did I make some like weird agreement with people and was like, great, we're gonna go to Earth. It's gonna be awesome. We're all gonna be
Wait, how?
born. We're
I
like,
want to know how this works. Where would the agency come from like, because you chose to be here? Like,
yeah.
nobody chooses, right? Like, it's this weird thing where your parents are like, you know what would be fun? What if we made a thing that's definitely going to
Well,
die?
that is true. That is 100% true. Which is why like people when they become parents, all of a sudden they're like, this thing could die. I only thought about creating it. I didn't think about keeping it alive.
But
Um,
I don't understand. Do parents not have this conversation of like, we are going to take a thing and we're going to create existential dread, okay? And I know we want to see what my genes look like and your genes look like, but
there's an app for that, but
you don't have to do this. You don't have to. And this is not a judgment of my parents, or this is a condemnation of parenting in general. I just don't
yeah.
get that idea. What is it in your brain, and what is wrong with my brain that's telling me it is bananas that you want to make a thing that will be like,
I don't know.
you're gonna
Could die.
die. This world is nuts. This world is terrible. You're gonna die definitely.
I
You're
feel like
welcome.
we definitely need somebody else in this conversation because I think
It's
because
just
we
you and
agree
me.
we need somebody like we need somebody to be like,
No.
you're not allowed to say that right now. Because I not only are you creating something that could possibly die, but they're so
Pause for
helpless.
1 second. Will definitely die. That's not
Well,
the
definitely. Sorry,
definitely
sorry.
die.
No, but but early on, they're so helpless
Hmm.
that it's. I know spending time with my little nieces and nephews and cousins and stuff that like I I I know enough to be like, oh my god, if I let you out of my sight for a second, we could be in a lot of trouble. This is
Yeah.
crazy. This is like, and I'm like looking around, and everybody's like, yeah, no, this is normal. And I'm like, wait, no, like I'll
Like the
never.
vulnerability, the
Yes!
fragility. Yeah.
I'll just never forget putting my niece down because I'm taking her to the beach for the first time, and she's 2 and she can walk, she can run. She's
Mhm.
so fast. And I go to put down, so I put her down first, and then I put like the pail and the blanket down, and she's like running into the ocean, which it only takes like this much water for a dry drowning. And she falls like every 3 steps. And just being like, you're going to die right now. Oh my god, if I don't get to you. And I just, and that's every moment. So I don't know how people have children. I don't I that see, now that would give me that would make me an anxious person. I think it's
If
probably
you
why I don't have children. Because I would just I yeah, the but you know, a lot of, I can't speak for other people. That's terrible. But I don't know if the minute they birth their child, they're like, oh shit, this thing's fragile. Fuck, what did we do?
Oh, I'd assume again. You're right. We're two people who are talking
Yeah,
about
two people
uh,
without children.
without children with strong opinions on it. And I realize
Yeah,
as we're talking about this, I'm doing the exact thing that I said I try not to do, and that
yeah.
is to whatever the lie people have that comforts them,
Right,
don't destroy it. So the lie is kids bring meaning and purpose and fulfillment to my
right.
life, which
Yes.
is a very strong belief held by a lot of people. I
Yeah,
should not destroy that. At the
nor should
same
I.
time, I will say, but those things take up resources, and like even like maybe your lie shouldn't be bad for this very fragile thing we have.
Actually,
Um,
I just read in the Times the other day that we have like a population problem, like actually a low
oh
birth
yeah.
rate. And so I was
Hmm.
like, I guess we'll be okay. I guess the planet's gonna be fine. We're gonna
No,
low birth rate, right? No, maybe did I?
again, we definitely need scientists and doctors on the show, but I
I'm
feel like
not.
we've gone over that. We're not fixing this planet. This planet is it doesn't matter if people stop having kids
I'll
or that's
never. I hung out with 2 very lovely nuclear scientists once, who were friends, and they're just lovely people. And I just remember, maybe I shouldn't be bringing this up, them just being, I'm like, you're not having kids? And they're like, no, because the planet. And I was like, oh, right, you're scientists. Huh. You're not like the rest of us.
yeah.
And they were like, we feel really bad about what the planet's going to be like for our nieces and nephews, but you know. And I was like, ah, because science.
Yeah.
Shit.
What percentage of people do you think consider that?
None. Nobody. We all. None of us consider anything that is. What's it called when it's like too far ahead? What's the term for that? There's a term for it. Like we
I
can't
think
rationalize it. Like one of the problems with this is kind of similar to it, regarding the pandemic and numbers, right? Is that like our brains cannot rationalize numbers greater than 3. I don't know if you read that article. Like we just can't do it. So when
mhm,
when we're like, you know, 500,000 people are dead, we're like, okay, yeah, because it's not 3. Like for
mhm.
some reason, like beyond like our Neanderthal minds are like, I don't I don't know what that means. Like
I mean,
we're just so limited. We have a lot of limitations. I mean, that's why we keep procreating. And you know, sex is great. So that's the other reason. So
true, but you can do that and not have kids. Like there's
you
not
totally can.
those aren't. And no longer are those
You know
not
what? You know what?
or
People would argue different. I agree with you,
what do you mean
but some
people would argue differently?
people would be like, "No, we just." I mean, there are plenty of people who would be like, I tried not to have a child, but we did," and I'm like,
That I sure, yes, but we're no longer. We've been in an era for a very long time where it's a choice whether or not your sexual
"Yeah,
activity creates a human being.
yeah."
Um,
I forgot where I was though. I was answering it, and I took a sidestep. I took a sidestep somewhere. Sorry.
no, no, I was merely asking, what percentage of people before they have children consider? We've spoken to people who were like, well, we would do it, but or we were considering doing it, but the planet can't sustain it, the environment can't sustain it, or it's there are large groups of people who are anti-natalists for that particular
Yeah.
reason. That they realize having children is just, even if I want it, is not sustainable.
Yeah. I
Um,
I would just there it's just a fragility. Oh, see, now that gives me the thought of that can make me anxious.
the thought of
But
the world.
the thought of thought of having children, that might make me a little anxious. But the thought of like my own death, I'm like, no, that's cool, man, that's fine.
Having the children because now you're responsible for another living thing, or now because the fact that you are going to die is even more
Both.
frightening.
No, having the children because I'm responsible for another living thing. Like I can be responsible for my own life. That's fine. That's okay, and that's something I can wrap my brain around. But
Hmm.
to be responsible for somebody else, that's just like, whoa, geez, I don't. That's a tough order.
I
It's a
think
tough.
it's a pretty smart assessment. I think plenty of people have children without considering that, and it doesn't cross their mind. They don't realize maybe I perhaps am not
Yeah.
able to be both responsible for my life and for others.
But this is where I remember what this tied back to, is that yes, it is true that our parents brought us here. They're like, we're going to do this thing. We're going to make a child. But I'm saying, what if there was a moment before that moment, right? And this is what, spirit, like, what can I say, spiritualists, or in some religions, people are like, oh, so you like have decided to come back, right? Reincarnation.
Hmm.
You're like, you've made a pact. You're going to come back and until you learn this thing. And so like, what about that?
To me, it reads the same as we don't know. It's a comforting story, same like
Yes,
the comforting stories we tell for what happens after life, as well as
totally.
anything. It imbues meaning when there probably isn't any. It
Yeah.
seems, doesn't that make your life seem so much more important as
Oh,
opposed to
yeah.
just a bunch of fucking molecules came together and they created genes. The genes only wanted to replicate. How did they do that? They created a species that sex felt good, so they could keep making the genes and make more genes, make more genes.
I mean, they did a really good job with that. Let's
Pretty
be
great.
clear. It's like it's happening all over the place. So,
It's pretty great. I have good news for you. You have not died. You are not dead. You
yay!
are
Today,
here.
in this moment. Thanks.
You. So congratulations. It'd be weird if I had that power to be like, sorry, Bethany, you're done. I guess I do have that power, and that just got very, very dark. Um, so is there anything that you want to ask me? Do you have any questions for me, or do you have any thoughts from what we talked about?
If you could stay alive forever, would you? That's just what came to mind. I just went with the first thing.
It's interesting. That's what the in that philosophy of death course. There's a talk about
Ah,
he breaks this down about why it's a terrible idea. He's like, okay,
yeah.
think of every hobby that you have. And every interest that you have, and you can pursue every interest to the fullest extent. So you spend 500 years studying photography, getting really good at photography, loving photography. Like
Mhm.
you get the skill, you become at the highest level you can possibly be. You move on from that. Like I'm just going to read classic literature, and you spend, and after that ad infinitum, uh, it the idea is you're just going to run out of things that you want to do essentially.
Yeah.
So do I want to live forever? No. Do I want to not be as I said terrified and in horrible pain when I go?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, how about you?
Do I want to live forever?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. Do
No,
I
you
want?
got to commit to something. I'll make you commit to something. I know you don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure on a different day I will have a different answer for you. Um,
Hmm.
it sounds like a lot of fun,
Hmm.
um, but I'm sure at some point I would want it to end. I mean, I get food poisoning and I want to die. Like, there is a
Okay.
level of food poisoning that one can reach. Have you experienced this?
I've never
No?
had food poisoning. I don't think.
Then you
I
don't
don't.
know. Okay, but what
Um.
about when you're really, really sick and in pain? Have
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
reached that point where you're like, God, just take me now?
Oh yeah. 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 Yes.
So that would probably give me the out, right? Because I imagine that's the password. I imagine.
I don't think that's a password. I think there's plenty of people who are like, "Holy fuck, take me now," and you're like, "It doesn't."
Well, if I could live forever, I think they would give me a password if I wanted out.
Like a consent
This is
app,
my
you're
this
saying? Like
yeah,
some
this is
sort
my
of.
game.
Uh huh. Okay.
So at some point in this long vampire life that I would get, I'd probably get food poisoning, and I'd be like, just take me.
Okay,
Just
so you're a
literally take
vampire who has food poisoning, and that's not why you want to die. It's also like that question really kind of makes sense of like what level of my health is my body going to be in,
Yeah,
like to live
yeah.
forever? Does it
Oh.
continue to age and degrade at the same? My body hurts now, and I know only it will continue to hurt more as I get older.
Mhm.
So who wants
Well,
that forever?
maybe. Yeah, I guess it will. You're not. You can't be like bionic or something.
No, I think we have to recognize that
Yeah.
the top has been reached. I'm not saying for you. For me, the top has been reached, and now it will be just a continued slow,
It's so dark. It's so
slow.
dark.
Is it?
I've already looked. I've reached the top, and now it's just
Uh,
down.
I have one question for you, unrelated to this, but now I'm just
Yeah.
curious. When do you think you were at your peak? If you had to say, like, what was your peak attractiveness, or like your peak everything? What do you think? You got a year? You got a?
Oh, geez. Well, I think part of that is knowing it, right? And being able to like walk in it, right? No?
I guess. I mean, I think you probably only know it after. I think right. You only know, or like, um,
I don't know. There was this time at 21 where like I knew I looked good. Like
mm,
it was just like I had just lost a bunch of weight because it was like I just finished college and I was just like in New York for the second time. And
uh-huh,
I just remember being like, yeah, this feels good.
uh-huh.
This feels great. And I don't know, I'm not sure if I felt that way since.
So 21. So like your peak, the peak's gone. I feel like yeah, like at some point you got to acknowledge like
Yeah, yeah,
there's something humbling. I had an audition the other day for a commercial, and every other person doing it was 10 years younger than me, and it was for people who are runners. And I'm doing it, and I saw all of our faces on screen. I was like, oh, this isn't me anymore. I'm not these
yeah.
people. I am definitely.
That's okay.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, it's good,
it's
but it's just
also
like
like,
I
oh
always
yeah,
I always say like when I get to like my 60s or 70s, I'll like go and I because again, this is what my mind has created for me that like they embrace like mature, attractive older women in Europe. So I'll just live there. And have like another round of like being like single and sexy in old age.
I love that you've planned all your single sexy locations.
That's
Bethany,
yeah.
you were lovely. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.